My favorite part about Rwanda was all the singing and dancing that we were welcomed with, but then also that we got to participate in. It was never like a show, it was always something that we were welcomed into, and it just made me feel so excited, and it was really just beautiful.
One of my personal highlights was playing with the kids at the primary school. And because of my work at Hope this year, getting to go to the primary school, that was the highlight. Just getting to play and just getting to interact with the kids. I just felt like I was very much in my element.
We went to a restaurant where Amir ordered a curry and he let me sample it, and it was probably the best thing I've ever eaten. Like, I think it was made by the Christ himself. Other than that, I'd say the people, everywhere we went, we were greeted with a song, and half the time we were greeted with a dance. Jared taught me how to dance, so that was fun.
So one of the exciting projects we got to do was a pastors conference with 62 pastors from all over eastern Rwanda. The bishop asked us to talk about practical topics related to their ministries. We talked about word and sacrament. We talked about philosophy of ministry. We talked about prayer book and discipleship. And after speaking with many of those pastors after the conference, they talked about how much benefit it was and how much they were able to take back into their churches, including one of the pastors told me he already went back and started discipling 4 of his leaders from his church on the stuff he learned at the conference.
My favorite experience was one of the days we were able to go into a field to learn about how coffee is made. As we walked through the field, we were greeted by women singing and dancing. This was their way of greeting us and welcoming us into their circle. It's been really cool to experience people by hearing them sing and dance, and also greet us with handshakes and eye contact, which is something that has really stood out to me. I hope that we as Redeemer and in Greensboro, we can increase our welcomes with songs, eye contact, and handshakes.
I think my favorite part of being in Rwanda was just the radical hospitality we were shown every single where we went, with the homemade meals and just the singing and the dancing. Is truly unforgettable, and I'm not gonna lie, my breath left my chest when I saw an elephant in the wild when we were on the safari.
My favorite thing about Africa was that we got to kind of tackle some misconceptions that I had before we got to go, and I think that post the Rwanda trip I've been able to process through those and get to see how those things affect me back in America. But I think that Bishop Manasseh, who is the bishop over in GRACIE, was one of my favorite parts of the trip, because he was just so welcoming and joyful and was so full of the presence of God. It was awesome. He got to tell us his story. We got to hear about how God captured his heart when he was a young man, and I think that's something that will stay with me for a long time.
My favorite moment in Rwanda was receiving the invitation by Bishop Manasseh to deliver the sermon at the dedication of a new worship sanctuary. Although we were in a foreign country, the people's warmth and friendliness made me feel right at home in the midst of God's family.
My favorite part of our time in Rwanda was getting to worship with the believers at GRACIE and just getting to sing and dance with them and not letting the language barrier really affect our worship. It was very evident that the same God that's working in those believers and in those churches is the same God that is over here in Greensboro in North Carolina. And it was just really beautiful to get to be a part of that.